Yes, all right then, lads. Welcome back to Cossy's Arsenal podcast. My name is Cossy. We are back again this evening or this afternoon, whatever you want to call it. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in all parts of the world. It's another beautiful morning, beautiful Monday. And we're going to try to dive into Josh Kroenke and the Kroenke's pledge to spend more money and make Arsenal better. They are actually saying, if I may quote, the Kroenkes are saying that they want to win the Premier League. Their aim is to win the Premier League and the Champions League as well, right? So Josh Kroenke earlier on Sunday had a big interview with Sky Sports, and he said in that exclusive interview that Arsenal want to win or aim to win the Premier League. Their aim is to win the Champions League, and actually said that they're willing to support the team. They're not willing to sell Arsenal Football Club. That is also something that is very candid of him or from him. That is, that's one of the points we're going to talk about. Arsenal is not for sale. Arsenal is now going to be, starting from last summer, Arsenal is going to be one of those clubs that do spend money when it is needed. Arsenal is going to fight for the Champions League, and Arsenal is also going to be fighting for the Premier League, according to Josh Kroenke. And that is where the question in this video actually comes from. It's going to be more of an interaction, an interactive session, because I would love to know what you think, guys. Would you trust the Kroenkes at this point in time? They have spent 156 million in the summer. Is it time for us to trust them? They brought in 6 players, quality players, if I may add, that are already doing a great job in turning things around for Arsenal Football Club. They are brought in a weak manager, but a manager that they believe in, and they brought in a sporting director who's doing their job, a sporting director that they also still believe in. It's the big question now. Do Arsenal turn things around? Have we turned a corner? Is Stan Kroenke now, has he agreed to start spending? We are being linked with players in the range of 75 million. We are being linked with players in the range of 30 million in the January transfer window. Is it courtesy of the Kroenkes realizing that the best way to get the most profits out of Arsenal is actually to invest in it? That and more is coming up in this show. So make sure you smash a like on the video. Thanks everybody. I've seen you Godfrey already in the in the comment section, and of course I love you people, guys, to get involved in the comment section and tell me, is it time for Arsenal to go back to the top? Are we actually is what we are seeing a charade, a smoke screen? Are we seeing a smoke screen? Are we seeing an attempt by the Kroenkes to silence the fans, or are we seeing genuine progress? Is it genuine progress? Are you convinced at this point in time that the club is moving in the right direction, that Mikel Arteta was the right appointment? Of course, we'll talk about Mikel Arteta today in the evening and his 100 games and the unbeaten run. But the Kroenkes, before we dive into this long interview that Josh Kroenke had, are you happy with the Kroenkes? They spent 156, and if you're not happy, if you're happy, tell me why you feel like you're happy and contented with the Kroenkes. But if you're not happy and contented at the moment, do let me know, because for me, personally, how much I've always scorned and scorched the Kroenkes. I cannot really be carried away, in this point in time and say, yes, this is it, it's over. No, but they are saying they want Champions League. They are saying they want Premier League. They are saying they want Arsenal to compete at a top level. And they are saying that it is high time Arsenal went back to the big club it was 2 decades ago, when Arsene Wenger had actually put in all the hard work. Right? So, your opinions in the comment box, much appreciated, and a like on the video. But before we go into that, we are proudly sponsored by the beautiful people at H&S Gamers. So H&S, thank you so much. If you're in Uganda, check out their store, check out their shop in Makerere. very, very, very interesting shop. You'll have to play all the games you want. You'll have all the time to play all the games you want. Mortal Kombat, FIFA 21, FIFA 22. So make sure you do check them out. I mean, it's good to have a little fun. And sorry about that league position. Someone just told me about the league position. We are actually currently fifth. I don't know. I just forgot to change it. Very, very sorry. And someone already told me in the first video to change the league position. But I do promise, I'm going to change the league position in the next stream. No worries about that. Okay, guys, let's get the party started. Josh Kroenke. I'm going to play you a small clip of Josh Kroenke speaking of what he feels Arsenal is going to become in the future. And probably that is where we are going to pick up from. Is Arsenal going back to winning ways?
The men's first team, what was behind a real change in policy? We've gone from previous campaign 6th highest net spenders to the highest, in fact, highest net spenders in Europe. What was behind that?
You know, there's a lot of answers to that question, but I think that from a collective ambition from my father to myself, to the board, to Mikel, to Edu, and on down to the rest of the operation staff, we had a clear idea of what we needed to do. And there were a lot of areas that needed to be addressed. Were we going to be able to address them all in one window? I don't think we did or were able to do, but we made a lot of progress in certain areas. We have a young manager who's improving every match. I think he says that himself privately. And I think we have a squad that is really designed around his strengths, and now they can all be in a position to grow together.
On the men's.
So right, that is Josh Kroenke, and that is just a small cutout of the interview that we're gonna be looking at in this video, right? That is just a small cutout of the interview that we're gonna be looking at, and the basic part of it actually is he watched that game. He was present when we were beating Watford. Are they part of the club right about now? Sorry for the audio that actually went through. Right. Josh Kroenke, exclusive interview with Arsenal director. This is Sky, who says club is not for sale and now on path to Premier League success. All right. So the first, this is according to Sky, and they're saying Arsenal director Josh Kroenke responds to Daniel X takeover bid by saying the club is not for sale and outlines the club's title ambitions in an exclusive interview with Sky Sports' Geoff Reeves. Watch Arsenal versus Watford live. Of course, that was that was later that Sunday. So let's try to move down into the interview. First, he was asked about Arsenal director Josh Kroenke says that the club is not for sale despite a 1.8 billion bid from Daniel Ek, and insists the current owners have big ambitions of their own to bring success back to North London. And that is the first talking point. That is the first talking point. Not for sale. He acknowledges the bid and he says the club is on their way back on top. So Spotify's Ake wrote to owner Stan Kroenke in May, and made the bid, which remains on the table. And in September, Thierry Henry, who backs X, proposed takeover, along with fellow Arsenal legends Patrick Vieira and Dennis Bergkamp, told Monday Night Football that there had not been a response to the offer. This is what Josh Kroenke said. To be able to get there, you need to have someone to respond on the other side. Henry said, "It hasn't happened yet, but we and he is here to stay." Asked about that bid by Sky Sports, Geoff Reeves in an exclusive interview. Ahead of the Arsenal's Super Sunday clash with Watford in the Premier League, Josh Kroenke, son of Stan Kroenke, insisted no bids for the club would be accepted right now, and that there are significant plans in place to take the club forward under the current ownership. Right. So there we get it. There we get it. So what did he say? He said, we get bids for the club all the time from many different parties around the world, and that speaks to the strength of Arsenal Football Club. He said, it's a wonderful institution. Arsenal Football Club is a global brand, and only is a global brand. And my only response to anything is the club is not for sale. We are just getting started, right? So it's now very, very clear. It's now very, very clear. He actually said that the club is not for sale. We are just getting started. We've only owned this club since 2018. How many years are those? 18, 19, 20, 21, 4 years. And in those 4 years, we've not been in the Champions League. And he says we have a young manager, we have a young squad, and we are charting our path to the future. Josh Kroenke, right? So the club is not for sale. That is the first thing, and they're saying that they have very, very big, they are very, very big, big plans for the club. I'm gonna say this, right? I'm gonna say this. The title is not a clickbait, right? That title is not a clickbait. The reason that's why I put out that title is for one or two reasons. One is, if you're going to take Arsenal back at the top, like Josh Kroenke says, you've got to invest lots and loads of money, not only in the structure, because what they have done is quite admirable, and it makes sense now, at the end of the road, because what they've done is they have gone, let us spend 156 million on a structure, and I'm only speaking, I'm only speaking out of pure optimism. I'm not really saying that Josh Kroenke and Kroenkes are to be trusted, because they're capitalists, and you never lean your back on capitalists. Capitalists. They'll never have your back. Their major incentive is money. They can't put their money, they can't put their feet, they can't put their body, soul, and minds in a pool that actually does not guarantee them profits. And that is what I'm saying. That is why I'm saying that maybe the Kroenkes have finally realized that the only way to make money, the only way to get big money, huge money out of Arsenal Football Club as a club is by investing in it. And for me, that is the best way. Look at City, look at Liverpool, look at Chelsea, right? The more you invest in your club, the bigger it gets. Right now, our club doesn't get Europa League money, no UEFA Conference League money, no UEFA Champions League money. So if the Kroenkes had insisted on not spending or not investing in the club, it is their own loss. Honestly, it's their own loss. Yes, they're taking a lot of money out of the club because the fans always pay the season tickets. I've seen some fans throw them away. But the more you invest in a club, the more the more you add money, the more value. Right now, if you wanted to buy Arsenal, it's not the same value as the Arsenal of 2004, definitely. Because in 2004, you have an unbeaten run. 2005 to 2006, you have a Champions League final. If you wanted to buy Arsenal then, it wouldn't be a 1.8 billion bid. No. But because of the last 2 decades, you can see that this club, and Josh Kroenke is saying that they have taken this club over since 2018. That is when they took full ownership. But they have been in this business with Arsenal Football Club for longer than that. So this, and you can see, you can see what what I mean when I say you cannot really trust capitalists to the end. What they're trying to do is now they're trying to paint a picture that, look, we are not the problem. We are not the cause of the problem. You are the cause of the problem, because they've been here for more than half a decade, and in that half a decade is when we have seen Arsenal at its at its worst. And that is when we've seen, yes, there have been a few fragments of investment, Aubameyang coming in, but we've lost some of our best players still under the Kroenkes, Van Persie, Alexis Sanchez. So they brought in, they brought in with they came with them, a very, very poor policy, right? A very, very poor policy, raise talent and sell it. And when that didn't work, Now they went back on the table because, as we will look into the interview, Josh Kroenke says that they want to implement a policy of get young players, groom them, and inspire them to win big things. That's a very, very good policy. I said it in the summer that we can be Borussia Dortmund. We can be Borussia Dortmund, and we can even be better than Borussia if we decide not to sell the best talent. If we decide not to sell our best talent. But look, again, the plans to invest, the plans to make a lot of money, like you've had in that interview, it's absolutely beautiful that they want to invest, but it will even be stunning. I will be mesmerized after they do that, after they invest the money. So he said we've only owned the club since 2018. We have a young manager, we have a young squad, and we are charting our way, our path to the future. He said in the United Stands, we have a certain model used at other organizations run by Kroenke Sports and Investments. That is KSE, if you didn't know. And he's saying that, and we are implementing that here. And we have over the last 3 years, which is young players, talented players with the right mentality, let them grow together while continuing to sprinkle in talent throughout the squad. Now, look, there is a certain course I did in sociology, and well, I don't remember the course. I think it was sociology of development and things like that. And they were talking, and I did look at strategies of development. You have things like grassroots. You have things like top to bottom, bottom to top, and then you have the growth pole, right? So what they're trying to do here, the Kroenkes, is they're saying that they want to implement what you would call the growth pole strategy, and that is a strategy that would work only by bringing in very, very quality players. Because basically what the growth pole does is you bring in quality to make all the other batch quality. That's what it does. You develop one area, just to bring development to all the other areas, and that's what that is what they're trying to do. They are brought in, and I think it really works. If you look at our defense, how organized it is, and just to mention that all of our defenders have only spent less than 3 years at the club. Tierney, I think he came in under Unai Emery. Tavares came in under Mikel Arteta this summer. Ben White this summer. Gabriel Magalhaes last summer, and Tomiyasu last summer as well. So Tomiyasu this summer and Ben White this summer, and then Gabriel last summer. So what that does, if you do it well, if Arsenal, for example, become that very, very organized defensive force, the advantages are shared throughout the squad. It brings confidence. It builds competition in other areas. The defenders try to, the defenders try to help up the other, the rest of the teammates and the rest of the squad, which I think is good. And you could also look at the defense. Look at the goalkeeping section. Ramsdale, I think his performance is actually much more like a Jack Grealish kind of performance at Aston Villa, not at City, at Aston Villa, because I think at City he's still struggling. But at Villa, that kind of player that just elevates every person's passion and every person's level of performance and achieving. So when you come to the midfield, you have Thomas Partey there, who I think is very, very, very quality. You saw it against Watford. If he was in that game, probably it would have been even worse for Watford. And then on attack, you have Saka and Emile Smith-Rowe, who I think are absolutely also quality. So if their strategy, because in the interview he says that over the past 3 years they have tried to do that. Okay, let's try to track over the past 3 years. Pepe, a disappointment, but you don't blame the Kroenkes for signing Nicola Pepe. You might blame them a little bit because they actually hired the wrong people, in management. But I might not really blame the Kroenkes for Nicola Pepe. If we had brought in Zaha, I think we would have been in a better position. Honestly, if we had brought in Wilfred Zaha instead of Nicola Pepe, we would have been in a much better position, very, very, very better, very, very much better position than we are in right about now. So in the last 3 years, yes, they brought in Nicola Pepe. Aubameyang is post to the. Did Aubameyang come to Arsenal in 2000? I think he spent a much longer time than that, hasn't he? 2018. Probably Aubameyang is part of that project as well. Aubameyang is part of the project. Partey is part of the project. Leno is part of the project. Leno is a quality goalkeeper, by the way. And then Ramsdale is part of the project. Yeah, look, look. At the moment, he can speak whatever he wants because it's working. And we can see that we can see that in the last 10 games, yes, it's working. But to prove that this is the model they want to take, it doesn't have to stop at spending 156 million in the summer. It has to go beyond that. You have now to spend some 30 million in January, right, to cover for the midfield. You have to spend another 80 million in the summer to get in a midfielder and a striker. If they do that, they're going to be clear of it. They're going to be clear. Because for me, if Arsenal add 2 more midfielders and a striker, we are officially top 5 contenders next season. Because this season, I'm still a little bit skeptical. I'm looking at West Ham and their level of organization. I'm looking at Liverpool. I'm looking at City. I'm looking at United. I'm looking at Chelsea. Look, United could be struggling, but they have the quality set. It's like making your money and you set a pay date in the future and then you struggle at this point. And I think that's what United have done. They have the credit in the bank to fight and contend for the top 4. All they have to do is either give all the time to turn things around or bring in a manager who turns things around. As simple as that. But look, we still need around 4 players in the squad, and I do believe we have to give the squad time as well, because it's a very, very young squad. An average age of 23, that is the youngest squad in the Premier League. We've got to give it time. But anyway, the strategy of Josh Kroenke is that they want to bring in talented young players who have the mentality to win, the right mentality to win, so that they can actually help the rest of the squad develop better. I don't think you're going to help the likes of Kolasinac. I don't think you're going to help the likes of Holding, but probably you never know. Right, so let's move together. He also said that eventually the squad grows into something very special. The power of continuity behind the scenes and people working together and pulling in the same direction is an underrated aspect of pro sports. Oh my God! And this guy this guy should be holding our press conferences, right? Josh Kroenke should be holding our press conferences, because this guy, I mean, if I were a woman, I would be absolutely flattered. But the idea here is that, look, this is me being a little bit a spokesperson for the Kroenkes. I'm not really trying to do that. I'm not really trying to do that. I'm not being a spokesperson to the Kroenkes. I'm my own man, and I have my own opinions about Arsenal Football Club. But he says that they want to invest they want to invest money in young players so that they build the idea of the power of continuity behind the scenes. You have people working together, pulling in the same direction, and that is a way. And I think, look, it's the way Manchester City has become good. It's the way Liverpool have become good, right? The difference that City have is that they have signed in players, and look, still, City have not signed an 80 million player. How many very expensive players have City signed? Kevin De Bruyne, Grealish, Ederson. Look, most of their players are around 45 to 60 million. That is where they are. And obviously, we know the amount of money their owners do have. It's a lot of money. But think about City around 5-6 years ago, or even more, more than that, when they were buying the likes of Emmanuel Adebayo, when they were buying the likes of Samuel Nasri, when they were buying the likes of David Silva, Yaya Toure, who else? Who else? Someone, you've got to remind me. I don't know if they both Joe Hart or he came from their or he came from their academy. The likes of and a couple of them, the likes of Tevez and a couple of others. But look, it's been a gradual process. It's been a process where they have kept on being better and better and better. But the good thing is that they brought in players that formed the basis. And even when Pep Guardiola came in, they actually gave him a whole structure. Because look, City right now, Fernandinho, part of the structure, Ederson, part of the structure now, De Bruyne, part of the structure now, Kyle Walker, part of the structure now, Sterling, right, part of the structure. You remember the raw, crude Raheem Sterling they got from Liverpool. Still remember the Kyle Walker from Spurs, the Kevin De Bruyne from was it from Wolfsburg, right? Kevin De Bruyne from Wolfsburg, Kun Aguero from Atletico Madrid. So they built a structure, and then they started adding a few talented players to the structure. Leroy Sané, Joao Grealish, Bernardo Silva, Joao Cancelo, and a couple of other players. And it's worked out. It's worked out. So can we keep the idea of continuity that, like Josh Kroenke is saying? And he's saying that with the power of continuity and allowing a group to grow together, special times are ahead of this football club. Okay, special times. What I understand by special times is not us going into the Champions League and being thumped 6-0, 7-0. Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for doing that. Look, I look, most of you really surprised that I can speak. But I've already said that I'm from Uganda, haven't I? But look, let's say this. If Josh Kroenke, right? If Josh Kroenke means that we are going to have special times at Arsenal, right? Then he means we are going to win silverware. Because for me, that is the level, that is the standard of Arsenal Football Club. Silverware. Nothing less than that. There is nothing less than that. If you say special times by us starting to compete for fourth, being able to compete for fourth, third, those are not special times. The special times should be that we start competing for silverware, competing with the likes of Liverpool, Manchester United, Manchester City, and a couple of other clubs. I don't know whether that is what he has in mind, but I hope he does. And according to Sky now, they're saying that Arsenal were top spenders during the summer transfer window, but have fallen behind more wealthier rivals in recent years, with consecutive 8th place finishes in the past two seasons, a far cry from the run of 20 top 4 finishes in a row under Arsene Wenger. However, Kroenke insists that Arsenal supporters should continue to expect their side to compete with the best in the Premier League and set out the club's strategy to make that a reality. So this is what he said. Arsenal fans should expect the best. That is what they expected throughout their history, and that shouldn't change at all, he said. Do we have to rethink how we are going to go about achieving those goals? Absolutely. This summer that really played out. We weren't breaking any transfer records, but the net spend was very, very high. Actually, look, I think we were breaking some transfer records. We broke some transfer records. We did. Look, our net spend was higher than any other club in Europe. That is madness. That is madness. Look, I think I did that story in June from 90 Min, right? Big up to the people at 90 Min now that they have Harry Simeo. Actually, big up to you more. But I still remember I did that story from 90 Min when when they say the Arsenal's budget could extend to close to 200 million this summer. And look, we signed in players late. Ben White was one of the late, the late incomings. So the first player we signed in was I think Nuno Tavares and Albert Sambilakong. Those were the first two players that we actually brought in, and it was an absolute bismo that we didn't actually get to sign in players earlier enough. I told you that in the summer. But look, everyone was surprised on how we just ended up signing 6 players for worth 156 million. Everyone was surprised. I was surprised too, and you were surprised as well, right? So he says they have to rethink the way they want to achieve the goals, because the goal as a football fan, your goal. Look, I don't know if Kroenke is Josh Kroenke is a football fan, but what I know, according to the little information I have, is that he's running Project Arsenal, and he is a little bit emotionally attached to Project Arsenal than Stan Kroenke, the father. And so, according to Josh, he says that they want to win. They want to win. They want to win the Premier League. They want to win the Champions League. They want us to compete with the Big Six, with the rest of the Big Six. And he's saying that now we have to rethink the way we are going to achieve those goals. The way, and he says absolutely, this summer that really played out. Right? The net spend was very, very high. And he actually says that we had many areas we needed to address on the pitch. Those were addressed with players of a certain quality, of a certain age. And I think what gets left out quite a bit is we needed to change a few mentalities around here. We needed to get mentally stronger. Absolutely. I just hated the mentality of that team last season, over the past 2 seasons. I hated it. You're losing, you're trailing, and the lads are not even bothered. It also happened this season against Crystal Palace. I thought we were a little bit slow, but the way we fought until the end, there was some character. It's something against Brighton. We didn't deserve anything out of the Brighton game, but in the end, we got a point. And that point is the reason that's why we are 5th on the table, 3 points clear of Manchester United with Cristiano Ronaldo. So, I understand. But look, so according to Josh, he says that in the summer we needed some recruitment of players of a certain age and a certain quality. I think we got them. Now, can we now start moving on to the next step? And that is bringing in successful players to bring the success. Because for me, the mentality at this club is good now. It is set. But we do not have the successful mentality. For example, look, if you hired, if we hired a player like Lautaro Martinez. Lautaro Martinez has won the league with Inter Milan. If you had a player like Lautaro Martinez, he adds that mentality. He adds the winning mentality. Ramsdale, is not new to relegation, but he's very, very new to winning titles. The same goes with the likes of Ben White. The same goes with the likes of Nuno Tavares. And look, he's been at Benfica, but I don't think they've really won anything, any significant things during his time there. So we need the players that can add the layer of that winning layer, that winning mentality. Right. So I hope we are going to sign them as well. And still Josh says that I think from the new signings, to the kids that are coming through from Hell End, to the senior players that are setting the tone in the dressing room on a daily basis, that mentality is to go out and compete and leave it all on the pitch. Absolutely. And it says that is a quality that can make us, that can make our fans proud, win, lose, or draw. Absolutely. You remember when I said that I wouldn't really care, and it wouldn't be a big problem for me if Arsenal lost to Liverpool, as long as we can as long as we can see or show that mentality. As long as we can get that, as long as we can hold Liverpool down. Look, it is something that we've got to hold on to. It is something that we've got to hold on to. Get Liverpool, make it difficult for them. They can beat us 1-0, 2-1, 3-1. I don't care, right? But can we show some character? Can we make it Liverpool? Because it was too easy for Manchester City. It was too easy for Chelsea. And that's why I was screaming on top of my voice in those two match reactions. It was too easy. It was too easy. Can we make it hard? Right? And probably we can't. So and look, Josh says that I think the top sides are in much stronger position than we are right now. He's very honest. He's very honest. Has he changed? Because capitalists are big liars. Capitalists are big liars. But he says that the top sides are in a much stronger position than we are right now, as they had a chance, especially over the last several years, to really build their squads to a different place. And I don't disagree. I don't disagree. Because if you look at Liverpool, they didn't shop their players last summer. They actually didn't shop their players last summer, but one. Over the two transfer windows, they brought in Konate, Jota, Thiago Alcantara, Smictas. I think it's called Benjamin Smictas. I don't remember the other name. Smictas at left back to cover for Robertson at left back, and who else? I think those are the players they brought in. And then probably you could look at. No, I think those are the players they brought in, right? Haven't they? Across the last two, summer transfer windows. So it shows you that Jurgen Klopp has built this team over time. But also, you give credit to Liverpool for bringing in the right manager. Because with Jurgen Klopp, they brought in a manager who had achieved, actually for me, overachieved at a club like Borussia Dortmund, a club that is used to selling its best players out all the time. They had overachieved, definitely. He had overachieved. So they brought in a manager who was just ready to win, and he's got the Champions League. He wanted to win it with Dortmund. It was unfortunate that he met Bayern in the final. I think that was 2012, 2013. And it was really unfortunate. Probably he could have done better than that. I don't remember the year, 2012, 2013 or 2014, around there. And then you had a manager who had won under the most difficult conditions, had won the German Bundesliga, knowing very well that Bayern is the only team that must win the Bundesliga. And ever since Dortmund did it, we've not seen another club win the German Bundesliga, unless I'm wrong. Since they won under Jurgen Klopp, no one has won the German Bundesliga other than Bayern Munich. So that shows you that what Klopp wanted or needed was a side that was competitive enough, a side that was going to give him the resources that he needed to become better as a manager, but also to write his name as one of the best managers in world football. Look, there is no manager in world football, and I'm saying this, that has written his name as a good manager without the resources. Who? Klopp has got the resources at Liverpool. Conte, he got the resources over the last period of time where he's been at Chelsea, at Juve. Pep, you cannot even explain, because Pep has got the resources at City, the resources at Bayern, the resources at Barcelona. He's got them. Maybe you could credit him for building that Barcelona, and the mentality, the squad, the playing style, and everything. But still, he had the resources. He had very, very good players there. So maybe that's where Liverpool are better. They brought in a manager that was ready to take over their project, and probably Mikel can become like Jurgen Klopp. So I mean, he's honest, and he says the other clubs are better than us. He also says that our strategy has changed drastically. Now the summer has settled, and the players are on the pitch. We are closing the gaps slowly, but very, very surely. Right? Let me repeat that. He says our strategy has changed drastically. Does this mean they're going to invest? I think that is what they mean. Because there is no way there is no way he would say that the strategy has changed drastically if it's not for investment. There is no way, because the only strategy that they had was, I don't know what their strategy was, but if their strategy is to invest in young players with quality, I still feel like we should have gone for Kamavinga, very, very good player. I still think we should have gone for Donny van de Beek, very, very good player. Still think we should have gone for Boubacar Somare before he crossed over to Leicester City. But look, he says the strategy has changed drastically, and now the summer has settled and players are on the pitch. We are closing the gap slowly but surely. Okay, yeah, I mean, it's going to take time. The strategy that we have taken is going to take time, and I hope the time we invest in as fans is actually worth it. All right, it's actually worth it. All right. And then it says it says that the bigger teams have lots of resources. We have resources as well, and as long as we are using those resources smart, appropriately, and intelligently, 1 + 1 eventually will add up to 3. Wait. He said 1 + 1 will eventually add up to 3. Okay. Let me just get my mathematics right. 1 + 1 = 3. Look, the mathematics is but look, that is a figure of speech when he says 1 + 1 will add up to 3. And definitely what it means is that look, I think he wants us to take the same route as did Liverpool. Because what Liverpool did is something that's happening with Leicester City, by the way. I don't know why they're playing shit football, but what Liverpool did. Let's talk about Liverpool, because they're better as an example. What they have done is they brought in Sadio Mane, Salah, and Roberto Firmino. Then they kept Jordan Henderson. They brought in Fabinho and Gigi Wijnaldum. Still remember that Liverpool midfield. At centre back, they brought in Joe Matip and Virgil van Dijk. Trent, I think, was from the academy. Robertson, very, very cheap signing as well. And then before that, they even didn't have a decent goalkeeper. They had, I think they had Karius, one of the worst goalkeepers I've seen in a final. Karius. So in the end, right? In the end, what happened eventually is they started filling in the missing pieces slowly by slowly. They signed a decent goalkeeper, around £75 million from Roma. They signed in Virgil van Dijk, around again 70. I think around 75 million. They signed in Jota. Then they brought in Thiago. They brought in Keita, who I think has taken long to mature, but has certainly arrived to play for Klopp and the way Klopp wants him to play. And now what they're doing at the moment is they're also grooming these young players, the likes of Curtis Jones, very, very, very interesting. The likes of is it called Robbie Elliott, very, very interesting player as well. So you can see what Liverpool are trying to do. If we take the same strategy, that means it's going to be around 1 to 3 years. But 3 years or 4 years with progress. If this year we go back to the Europa League, next year we probably win the FA Cup. The third year we go back to the Champions League, and then in the fourth year we win the Europa League, right? There is progress. We need to see progress. We don't need to see the club going backwards, right? So if they are saying that they are going to invest and they're going to work on their performance as the KROENKES, this is the time. This is the time. Yes, they are blocking the takeover, which is, I think, which serves us a lot if they decide to invest, because the whole new charade of getting, the boring story or the interesting story of getting a new manager and restructuring and changing the structure. If you have an owner that spends at least 50 million per summer, after getting a structure, because for me, after getting a structure, we will need at least one player, 50 million, 35, 45, or 60 million per summer. If they're willing to do that, I won't even say the other word because I'll be contradicting myself, and I really don't want to. I don't want to cry in the next 2 years. Oh, the Kroenkes did lie to me. Okay, so and this is where it gets interesting, because he says someone says all right. Andrew says, thank you, Cossy, for the updates. Thank you so much for appreciating. Streamed for 45 minutes. I thought we had streamed for only 30. Right. So Josh Kroenke says the goal is to win the Premier League. Oh my God, guys, this is crazy. I'm gonna share this. I'm gonna share with you this. Right. Let me just share with you this, because this is crazy. This is crazy. He says the goal is to win the league. Right. The goal is to win the league. Can Arsenal go back to those days? Because I miss those days. I really miss those days when we were competitive. I miss those days. All right. Does that really work? Well, I could just place myself ahead here. Oh no, there. I love that position. All right. So listen, guys, you can read for yourselves as well. Right? You can read for yourselves as well. He's saying our goal is to win the Premier League. Can Arsenal? Before we go into that, please smash the like button, people. Please smash the like button. I want to thank the first people who commented and did smash the like button, the likes of Geoffrey. I think it's called Godfrey. Thank you so much, for the love. Thank you so much. I really, really do appreciate that. But before we go into the goal of the Kroenkes, please help me smash the like button. How many likes do we have, brother? 30? 50 likes. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, people. 50 likes, but that is still very, very low. I know by the time I leave this stream, it's going to be in over 1,000 views. So make sure at least we get to 100 views. 100 likes on this stream. Make sure you smash the hell out of that like button. But 50 is good as well. Live, 50 is good. And really thank you. But look, Kroenke says our goal is to win the Premier League. Okay, I'm going to re-upload this. I'm absolutely going to re-upload this. So listen. He says our goal is to win the Premier League. Kroenke accepts that the revival of Arsenal into Premier League title contenders may take some time, but he says he is increasingly optimistic Gunners are now back on the right track to deliver future success with Mikel Arteta in charge. And he says, I quote, I'm growing more confident by the day that there is a lot of work ahead, but there is a lot of work, he said. Even though we are starting to show signs of progress, if you don't keep pushing forward, you will stagnate. That's a big focus of ours right now. What are our next steps? And he's absolutely right. He's absolutely very, very right. I think the truth is, if you want to win the league, you need to be consistent. We've already said that a league is some kind of marathon. We've already said that a league is some kind of marathon. You don't, it's a marathon that you have to prepare for it for around 3 years, and then within the season that you win the league, you've got to be more consistent. So for us, we are in the preparatory stages. Can we be that consistent? Can we keep the consistency coming in? So he says that our next focus, or our big focus now, is what are our next steps. For me, let me tell you, Kroenke, the next step should be drive out all the dead wood. Drive out all the players with a negative mentality, drive out all the players that have stagnated, including Rob Holding and Xhaka, drive out all the players that do not need to be here, and bring in the right players, with the right mentality. That should be our next focus. That should be. All right, so he says, do we feel good about where we are? We feel better about where we are, but we don't feel good our fans still deserve more. Look, guys, this guy is look, and as a PR scholar, I'm gonna tell you this. As a PR scholar, there is a lot of I don't know how I should say it. There is a lot of homework that you do before you go for interviews like this. There's a lot of briefing. I don't know if you looked at the questions, probably being a very, but look, the bureaucracy that happens with the big media like Sky is actually covered by the what but what they by what they sell to us as quality. So what they do is they will make these interviews look very smart. That's what they do. They make the interviews really look very smart. But in the end, we know, right? In the end, we know that some of these things are actually premeditated. So, and that's why you don't really get carried away when someone seems too passionate, when someone feels, very, attached to the club. At times, they even don't mean it. But it says the fans deserve more and they do not feel good about the position of the club. And he said we need to go back into the top 4. We need to start qualifying for the Champions League regularly. And with that Champions League qualification comes a different level of how you can recruit players. The best players want to play in the best league in the world, which is the Champions League outside of the Premier League. Wow. Guys, this guy, like Kroenke, nailed this interview. Whoever briefed this lad was so good. Because look, let's understand this, right? Let's understand this. And this is me being very critical, picking out the nitty-gritties. He says we need to go back to the Champions League, but it takes someone with a footballing experience or someone who understands football to know that when you are recruiting and you're in the Champions League, you have an opportunity to recruit better players, because it says that the best players want to play in the best league besides the Premier League, and that is the Premier League. And he's not wrong. Maybe the reason as why we cannot attract players like Kamavinga, maybe we cannot attract players like the likes of Donny van der Beek, the likes of Lautaro Martinez, is the fact that you're not anywhere on Europe, you're not represented anywhere in the Champions League. So it's right. So it says we need to go back to the Champions League so that we can actually acquire and attract those big talents. Right. We will be keeping this interview very well, so that when he messes up, we will actually remind him. And then he says when you start competing consistently for the Premier League trophy, you are pretty much competing for the rest of the trophies in the sport. So our goal is to win the Premier League. Stan Kroenke, Josh Kroenke, son of Stan Kroenke. If he was a Muslim or Arabic, would say Josh Kroenke bin. I think it would be Josh Kroenke bin Kroenke. I think that's the word. Right? Bin Kroenke. Josh Kroenke, son of Stan Kroenke. Right? But he makes very good points. When you win the Premier League, for example, look at Chelsea. They're literally in the race for every other title. They're in the race for every other title. So if you consistently start fighting for the Premier League, you're fighting for the FA genuinely, and you're fighting for the Europa League Cup genuinely. So he says once we are in the conversation for the Premier League, I think that's when interesting things will really start to happen elsewhere as well. But for me, my big question is when are we going to start looking at the Premier League? Because you might say we are going to go back to the Premier League, into the Champions League and the Premier League and the debates like that, and then we go back there in 10 years. So we need to make it faster. Please do make it fast as well. Kroenke during a wide-ranging interview, Kroenke discussed a variety of topics, from Arsenal's involvement in the European Super League and the board's relationship with supporters through to his football skills. So first, he talked about Arsenal's current form, and he said we are currently on 9 matches unbeaten, but it started before that. When I was here in August, I obviously seen the fixture list come out for the season, and I knew those first 3 were going to be very, very difficult. First match away to a ground that was going to be electric for a lot of reasons, coming out of COVID, first time in the Premier League, and then to get hit with the squad being decimated by COVID itself was always going to be a tough scenario. Then to play the next 2 matches against Chelsea and City, the Champions League finalists, it was always going to be very, very difficult. And it says, but the group stayed together. You could feel it behind the scenes. They were never fractured. They were never fragmented, and that's served us well in where we are right now. It really brought the group together and didn't fracture us in any way. The club's summer transfer policy so far paying off. I said I wouldn't really say I feel vindicated by the approach in the summer. I would say I'm more driven to keep pushing forward whenever you start to test a little bit of progress or success. Even though I don't think we've had any success yet, but we are starting to feel a little bit of the progress that has been made behind the scenes that only drives even harder. He also said that I feel that from Mikel Arteta around the training ground. I feel that around the first team squad, and I also feel it throughout the rest of the club. I've met with the commercial side, I've met with the footballing side, and even over to the women's side of the equation. FA Cup finalists, they have got a huge match coming up next month against Barcelona in the Champions League. I feel as a club we are really pulling for each other and pulling in the same direction. On the fans' protests, and if there was a crisis at the club after back-to-back 8th places and 5 years since a top 4 league finish, he said, I wouldn't say a crisis. He said, I wouldn't say a crisis, but I would say we needed to redefine our strategy. When you qualify for the Champions League as many years in a row as we did, it's because it becomes expected to move out of those positions. Was very challenging and on and off the pitch. All right. I'd love to hear from. All right, on the Super League, and this is where we're gonna call it. And this is where we're going to call it on the Super League. So on the Super League, and if it was the lowest point in relations between the owners and the supporters, he said, possibly, I wouldn't disagree with you. I would say it was. But as someone who always tries to find the positives in things, when you are at the bottom, there is only one way to go back, and that is back up. I don't want a 48-hour period to define us. We were presented with an opportunity. We asked ourselves a question, which was, what is worse, a Super League or a Super League without Arsenal? We answered that question. We answered that question with, we should be included in that. And he says, we were wrong, obviously. We listened to our fans and we made a quick pivot, removed ourselves from the situation. We apologized and now we move forward. He says some dialogue I've had with some of the supporters groups has been clear as crystal, and I couldn't be more excited to be communicating with them on the level that I am. So that is, guys, that is Josh Kroenke, and his interview. He really spoke about a couple of things, and I'm one of those people that have been really excited about his interview. So we've gone through it. Look, I might disagree with him on a couple of things, especially on the Super League. I think Arsenal were in that Super League cautiously. We were there cautiously. However much they want to make it feel like Arsenal went to the Super League. Yes, they were sorry, but they want to make it feel like they went to the Super League by mistake. I think they actually went there cautiously. Okay. Thanks everybody who got involved today in the comments. Cossy, any news about Thomas Partey? I've uploaded that. Osman, I've uploaded that on the channel. Thomas Partey, though, I'm happy to provide an update. Thomas Partey is just suffering from a slight muscle injury, and he should be back as soon as possible. David says, if we beat Liverpool, then we will have made our statement about the direction we are taking. David Benson saying, I'm seeing Arsenal getting better. Ahmed says, really, there is progress. Let's give him a chance to next year and see. And then Andrew says, thanks for the update, Cossy. Edwin says, we'll be great. Good evening, Cossy. We may beat Liverpool because our defensive is actually better than them. All right. What exactly are we talking about? All right. Kamara, you've said good afternoon, Cossy. It's better for him to spend the money because we will need a defensive midfielder, a prolific attacker, and I think that's the areas we need a player for now. All right. And then Walter says Thanks for the update, and Akech says we beat Liverpool, I believe. Phage Deep, you've asked me, should we sell Mohamed El Neni? Look. I think that's the last comment I'm going to take. Thanks, everybody. But look, I'm gonna say this. Right? I'm gonna say this. Selling Mohamed El Neni for Arsenal, selling Mohamed El Neni should be. It should be our priority. It should be a priority. Because look, when you get rid of El Neni, you definitely replace him with better. And for me, I feel like El Neni and Ainsley is gonna stay at the club. So no question about that. But El Neni as a player deserves more game time. He's not going to get that at Arsenal. He's a very loyal player. He's a very, very good man. So if he goes away and we can bring in someone like Dennis Zakaria, why not? It wouldn't hurt, would it? So I think, yes, I would definitely agree. Get rid of El Neni and bring in someone better. You've been a very, very great audience. Make sure you smash that like button, people. And I'm going to speak to you during the Arsenal transfer show later on today. Nade manyi nzanyira mu bungi